KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm of Iteris, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580. I need several dollars. We call it reparations. That's just part of it. I understand. But that's what we talk about around here on Freedman Fridays. What is the way forward? The philosophies, what is actually being done? How do we create momentum? How do we find unity? It is meant to be a comprehensive conversation on reparations. All comers welcome. Our guest today is a member of Project 21. He's the founder of the Uncommon Sense Media Group. He has almost 30 years in media, political advocacy, policy analysis, and grassroots activism. He is president and CEO for 2A News Corporation and a spokesman for the California Republican Assembly, which is the Golden State's largest and fastest growing Republican volunteer organization. Craig Deluz, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, great to have you on. So let's start with the basic, and so we know we're talking about the same thing. Craig Deluz, how do you define reparations?
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's the big part of the discussion is exactly what are reparations and how do you manage the expectations as to what reparations are?
Okay, well, what is your definition? Yeah. I mean, California just did a whole study. It's not mysterious, but it is more mysterious when you get into folks of a conservative outlook, particularly black folks. Some are for, and many are against. So how do you define it? And then we'll get into where you stand.
Well, once again, I guess the problem I'm having here is that when we're talking about it, you start talking about first. There's the financial reparations. In other words, trying to quantify the financial reparations or the amount of money that ought to go to the descendants of former slaves. Or
California's done it, right?
Should it go? Yeah, should it go to former slaves? Should it go to those who have been the descendants or have been?
But that's not what I asked you. I asked you how do you define reparations? So are you not willing to give a definition? Is that too controversial? I'm not understanding what's happening.
Well, once again, if you're talking about financial reparations, if you're talking about financial,
I just asked you how a black man defines reparations.
The problem is you have a bunch of people with a bunch of different definitions as to what it is, and who should be receiving those reparations. That is all part of I think the challenge in terms of setting or determining this when it comes to policy. If there was one set definition, then I think it would be easier for us
I asked you for your definition, Craig Deluz. As my guest on the show, people express their opinions, their viewpoints, what work they're doing for or against, usually for. So what is your definition of reparations as you believe it should be or shouldn't be?
I think a recognition of the impact that slavery and Jim Crow laws have had on Americans of African descent here in these United States.
Okay, so just saying, hey, that was bad, and that should fix it. Just explaining what happened, and then that's it.
I think once you recognize what the issues are, then you can start to develop strategies as to how to address or mitigate those concerns or those issues.
Got it. So, so I guess you're the progressive wing of the Republican Party because you're at least willing to talk about the impact of slavery and Jim Crow, and I'm guessing from the way you framed that you don't think it was a job training program.
Oh, I definitely do not believe that it was a job training program. And no, I'm actually a card-carrying member of the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Okay.
But I recognize...
Can I get one of those cards?
History is history. I recognize that history is history. And I also recognize that ignoring history is the surest way to repeat it.
Yeah, okay, so good. We're on the same page about something. Molly Bell, who's one of our regular callers, and hopefully she'll call today. You guys are welcome in now, as always, 800-920-1580. Always says reparation is repair. It's a broad definition, and anything that makes us whole. I think that the California Task Force has done an incredible job of actually accomplishing what you just said, outlining the impact of enslavement and Jim Crow, at least in the state of California, and recommending specific repair in a number of areas, and including cash repair. Are you excited and thrilled about that, or is that we just need to extrapolate it to a national level, or do you think that that wasn't it?
I think they missed the mark. I think there were some things that they identified in terms of causes and effects, and that has caused us to get where we are to a degree. But I also think that a lot of their quote-unquote concerns deal more with the color of people's skin and their descendancy than the actual issues that were caused.
Interesting, because the California Task Force did not do a strictly lineage-based approach, but they did do a lineage-based approach for things like cash reparations, and it's not, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, we know that the enslavement, the group of folks that were enslaved in this country were black. I mean, that wasn't something we made up. That's just what it was. The people on plantations, the people being whipped, chained, having families separated, for whom it was illegal to read, having their property seized, were black. So how is that problematic to mention? Are we going to pretend we weren't?
Well, the state of California was not a slave state. So now we're doing.
Did you read the report?
For slavery. We're requiring. I've read some of the report. I have not read the entire report.
Okay, well, the entire report is what, 1,200 pages. I haven't gotten through it yet either. I will. But the point, there's a summary, and so for you to say, that they missed the mark, it doesn't make sense, because what they did is pretty much exactly what you just said you wanted people to do, and they clarified why just because we are not classified as a slave state doesn't mean that California didn't benefit from our enslavement, that there weren't enslaved people living and working here, and that the subsequent harms of Jim Crow. I mean, Bruce's Beach is a perfect example, right? A family having their land stolen from them using racially motivated eminent domain. That is not a rare case.
Well, and I think in instances where you can identify a specific harm to a specific family or lineage, then you can address that. And I'm glad that they in fact address that. The problem is that what they've attempted to do was tie many strings to how do I want to put this? they have attempted to try to tie a whole lot of strings to issues and concerns and things that are going on within the black community today to things that didn't even really or had a tangential at best relationship to the state of California. And then on top of that, they've tried to tie, in essence, trillions of dollars. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that they made was putting forth an expectation that there were going to be that there were going to basically be cash reparations.
But why shouldn't there be? Why couldn't there be?
I think that, well, first of all, I think they got the hopes of many people up a lot higher. I mean, think about it this way.
Kelly House has got our hopes up in 1890.
Now in the state of California, right now in the state of California, we are facing a $73 billion and growing deficit.
I mean, understood, but
do you really think that California lawmakers are going to pass legislation that is going to then put us trillions of dollars?
They will if we make them. And listen, Craig Deluz, do you get to call the gas company and say, I'm many dollars in debt, so I'm many dollars in debt because I've been spending my money, so I don't have to pay my gas bill because I'm in debt? Is that what you get to do in America? Do you get to call your mortgage company and say I'm broke, so you have to let me live here even though I haven't paid my mortgage? That's not how it works. Reparations is a debt that's owed, so you don't just get to say I'm broke.
Well, first of all, the reparations as put forth by the report is even then still debatable. Once again, just as I said, there are many things that are within this report that are debatable, and there needs to be a public debate about whether or not these things. Number one,
we've been having this debate every week for weeks and for years. I mean, I've been talking about reparations for actually literally decades. So, I mean, if you're late to the party, it doesn't mean the conversation hasn't been happening. And so when we come
clearly
forward,
you're not winning the argument.
Well, actually, 5 years ago, no states had reparations commissions. Now, 4 do. Dozens of cities do. So I think we are winning the argument. But when we come forward, Craig Deluz, I want to hear from you what you think is debatable and what you think is palatable. It sounds like you're definitely against cash reparations. So what kind of repair would you find acceptable, and what are you saying is debatable? Because we're here for that debate. Right here, right now, on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one. Let's bring them back. Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your blast.
I'm a keep up safe.
Lowe's knows pros need the right tools for every job. That's why we sell the largest in-store selection of Klein tools anywhere. Find new items launching exclusively at Lowe's, like the self-leveling laser level for just $159.98. Plus, shop the Connect socket set for just $49.98. Get Klein tools in-store and online today, because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows pros.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count packs.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes you try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much for love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Craig Deluz is my guest. He's a member of Project 21, and he does a lot of things. President and CEO for 2A News Corporation, spokesman for the California Republican Assembly. He's served on the Roba School District Board of Trustees for almost 20 years, and he went to Cal State University at Chico. We're talking reparations because it's Freedman Friday. So you said parts of what the California Task Force did are debatable. So what parts are debatable? I'm assuming anything that has to do with cash, excuse me, just based on what you've said so far.
Well, part of the challenge with cash reparations is the money just isn't there. And just be real, the actual.
But we have money for Ukraine. We have money for Israel. We have money for, we have money for every nation in the world. But we can't pay back black people in this country who built this country, 12 generations working for free.
No.
We can pay for everybody else's wars, but we can't.
I will tell you.
We'll put you on a payment plan. We take credit. We give credit. We'll put you on a payment plan.
No, we don't.
Well, we can. We sure can. Absolutely. We can start with all kinds of things like complete tax immunity, which I know Republicans were clowning.
You can talk about what you would like, and we can talk about political reality.
Right, you said you said we can't afford it. But we afford what we say we can afford.
The state of California absolutely positively cannot afford it.
Well, we have a debt.
If
the state of California has a debt, it has to pay it. Okay, so it's debatable to you. You're against cash reparation.
Yes, I'm 100% against cash reparations. What we can do is start to look at policies that have had a disproportionate impact on the black community, and we can look to change those policies. A great example.
Get rid of DEI. There you go. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Start looking at our education policy. Right now, we force children of color, black children in particular, to stay in failing schools. We do not allow them to get
vouchers are reparations? Really? Wow.
No, I'm saying put black parents in a position where they can decide where their children go to school, rather than
not reparations. That's a Republican existing policy of school paying for private schools with public money. That is not reparations.
Reparations are repair. I'm sorry. Did you not say that reparations are repair?
Yeah, but
reparations are repair.
And a debt.
Part of that repair is actually improving the quality of education, because quality education can solve a lot of issues and challenges.
I mean, you think you're being tricky right now, but you're not being tricky. You're trotting out a tired old Republican policy, which is using public money to pay for private schools and religious schools, the voucher program, as repair for education. That is not repair. That is just Republican business as usual. Well, you just said those words.
Let me give you an example. Right here in Sacramento, we have a charter school system known as Fortune Schools. It is started by Margaret Fortune. She is a black woman who wanted to improve or close the achievement gap for African American students. And in her schools, she has actually done just that. Not only has she closed the achievement gap, but she is actually getting her students into college. Now,
black women have been doing, black people have been doing that for ourselves for generations. That is not reparations. That's just what we do. But vouchers is not reparations.
If parents could choose to send their children to her schools, she could expand the number of schools that she has.
We can't choose. We are choosing. That's a total straw man argument.
It's not a straw man argument. You just don't like it.
Well, no,
you
absolutely.
Just don't like it.
How is school vouchers is not reparations? Next.
Well, you said repair. I'm sorry you don't like the repair that's being offered. Or how about this one? How about we go after industries that are actually targeting the black community? Say, the abortion industry. Black women represent
overturning Roe versus Wade is reparations.
Black women represent about 35% of all abortions, but yet they only represent about 13% of the population.
Okay.
80% of abortion clinics are in the black community. Planned Parenthood has specifically targeted the black community in order to
do you know that
the Klan couldn't do.
You know that I love your talking points, but did you know that Planned Parenthood only 3% of what they do is abortion? They offer all kinds of support services, prenatal services, things that black women are dying because we don't get, because the black maternal mortality rate is so high in this country, and the black infant mortality rate is so high in this country. We're not here to debate that, and that ain't reparations.
It is a cash cow for the abortion industry and for Planned Parenthood. Otherwise, why is it when there are restrictions or limitations put on abortion, you have abortion clinics closing in states because they say they can't afford to keep their doors open?
Got it. Okay. Got it. You think overturning a woman's right to choose is reparations. I want to go to the phones because some folks want to talk to you. We're going to Molly Bell, straight out of Compton. Molly Bell, go ahead.
Reparations in memory of our ancestors. And God bless morning to you, Dominique, and to all of our listeners. And Craig, I'm enjoying you because, first of all, you're my brother. Regardless to what you're saying, you are my brother. And some of the things that you're asking for, we're asking for too. I just hope you don't mind if we don't put a limit on it. When we say reparations, we say reparation is repair. Now, I want you to, maybe you could repeat this after me. Repair is whatever it takes to make us whole. If it's cash money, if it's education, if it's housing, if it's food, if it's land, if it's repatriation back to Africa, whatever it takes to make us whole. So we had people to sit down, talk to us, and ask us, what do you want to make you whole? And that's what this commission was about. Now, I understand you with yours, and I don't disagree. I would love, if I had children, to send them to that school in Sacramento, but all of us couldn't go there. Somebody has to get paid. Don't be afraid of money, because all they got to do is print it. And you know that when they print it, whatever it's based on. So we're saying reparation is repair. Yeah, it's whatever it takes to make us whole, be it land, education, whatever. And so if you can agree with whatever, because what it takes to make me whole, for an abortion, that won't make me whole. I'm 77 years old. Don't even have a boyfriend. So that don't even help me at all. So it's us, all of us, black folks, whatever it takes, and whatever it takes to make you whole. I'm sure that love, understanding, and you can't get that out of a book. You have to get this from talking to Dominique, being calm, relaxing, answering the questions. And I'll stay on just for 1 second to see if you have anything to ask me. If not, I'm going to close and say, all you prayer warriors, keep fasting and praying, because the struggle continues, and always to God be the glory. And you are my brother. And when we get reparations, whatever it is, we're including you. Was there anything you wanted to ask me before I hung up?
No, I just wanted to thank you for your words, and I agree with probably 99% of what you had to say. What I'm hoping that at least the listeners understand is 99% of what I'm talking about is I'm talking about political realities in terms of, do we want to actually get something, or do we actually want to talk about? Do we actually want to solve the problem, or at least get closer to the problem? Or do we want to talk about the pie in the sky? There are many, many things that we could talk about, and I don't disagree. Reparations can be whatever will make you whole, but we're not going to get everything.
Okay, so Molly Bell said one second. I'm going to let you continue, but Molly Bell said reparations is repair. I do agree with that, but I also know that it is a debt. It is a debt that is owed to freedmen in this country, and when you factor in Jim Crow, repair needs to be done on a wider spread level as well. So you just to land on that and say, oh, well, it's just, whatever you say it is, but we need to be realistic. No, there's specific formulas which people are figuring out and investigating. That's what these task forces are doing. And so it's not just pie in the sky. There are specific numbers, specific legislation, and a very clear path forward. And so far, everything that you have delineated, Craig Deluz, is not that. It's existing Republican policy that is not addressing the debt that's owed to black people in this country.
I think the challenge, though, that we deal with in that is there, for example, there's a reason why in the United States there are these things called bankruptcy laws. And they call them bankruptcy laws because they realize that at a certain point, a debt either cannot or will not be repaid. And so the question
so you're saying America's
is,
bankrupt?
What can we get? Well, I will say this. I will say that this is a debt that is not going. This is a debt that is never going to be fully repaid, because especially when we look at the impact that slavery and Jim Crow has had on our community, on generations, there is no. I mean, we can try and put a number to it, but let's be honest. There is no real number to it. There is no number that will be big enough that we. Well, people say that, but. Once again, I keep saying I will continue to go back to the point that this is.
You owe us so much, so pay us nothing. Is that your argument? You owe us so much, so pay us nothing.
I'm saying. So let's have a conversation about what can happen.
And that can happen.
Let's have a conversation.
What we say can happen can happen.
Look, right now, the people who support reparations have been in control of the state of California for the last 60 years.
Have you polled all of the politicians? Did Pete Wilson support reparations? Have you polled all of the politicians? We got news, traffic, and sports, and then I know you got clap back for me, Craig Deluz. It's a Freedman Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. More testimony regarding Trump lawyer Michael Cohen will be heard today at the ex-president's criminal hush money trial taking place in New York City. Cohen was allegedly directed by Trump to pay off adult film star Stormy Daniels in the days leading up to the 2016 presidential campaign. In Thursday's proceedings, a forensic analyst for the New York DA's office testified about the unusual amount of contacts on Cohen's iPhone. In Georgia, a charitable foundation is highlighting Atlanta's racial disparities. A new report from the Annie E. Casey Foundation shows financial and education gaps between black and white people are growing even as income has gone up and employment numbers remain good. Economic mobility in Atlanta is near the bottom of the country's largest cities. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Mother's Day is coming up, and Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on great gifts that Mom is going to love, all for $15 and under. Get low prices every day at Macy's Backstage. Find a store near you today at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
How did you bounce back from a 30-point loss at home in the playoffs? That's the monumental challenge in front of the Clippers tonight in Dallas. The Clippers season will end tonight if they don't man up and show some character. Dallas leads the series 3-2. The forecast for a Clippers turnaround does not look good. Kawhi Leonard will not play tonight. His sore right knee continues to be a problem. And Terrence Mann is questionable with a right leg contusion. The Clippers may need to accept the reality that Kawhi is done for the season. Even if the Clippers win Game 6 to force a Game 7 on Sunday at Crypto, it's unlikely Kawhi will be healthy. He missed the final 8 games of the regular season and 4 of the 5 in this series. The solution for the Clippers is simple. Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook need to play like the All-Stars they have been. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Getting connected has never been easier. Get free Wi-Fi at all LA County library locations, inside the library and outside in the parking lot. Visit your local library and get connected today.
It's the farewell tour. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly and KBLA wants to send you and the special mom in your life. Sunday, May 12th at the Kia Forum.
Make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go.
Also featuring soul icon Anthony Hamilton. And After 7. It's a Mother's Day celebration you won't forget. Listen in for your chance to win tickets. And don't forget to wear white. It's the farewell tour with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQL.
ZQL, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQL nights. Explore our products at ZQL.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One and member FDIC.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Project 21 member Craig Deluz, he's a colleague, broadcaster, got a lot of experience here, and happy to have him on, sharing his thoughts. But let me ask you, on this Freedman Friday, Craig Deluz, are you, because I didn't ask you, are you a Trump voter?
I have voted for Trump and I have voted against Trump.
Okay, so you're a sometimes Trump voter. What about this time? Do you know?
I will definitely be voting for Donald Trump over Joe Biden.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's RFK, there's Cornel West. You know, you could write in somebody.
Once again, I'm a person who travels in political realities, and neither one of them are going to be president.
Okay. And so then if Trump, there are a sizable number, or I don't want to say sizable, there's a core group of Black Republicans who believe that Donald Trump should deliver reparations, including cash reparations. If Donald Trump created a deal that involved cash reparations for Black Americans, would you support that?
I think it would depend. Once again, it would depend on the policy. It would depend on exactly what it is.
Okay, just for the sake of argument, just for the sake of argument, he's going. Yeah, just for the sake of argument, he's going to write a check to every descendant of enslaved, every Black American, and that includes Jim Crow, basically following something similar to the California Task Force. Just a check, not all the other policies, just for the sake of understanding where you are. You would support that.
What's the dollar sign amount attached to it? What are the determinations? How do you determine who gets what?
It's your president, so you're okay. So you're saying even if it's coming from Trump, which I think has a snowball's chance of happening.
I judge based on policy, not personality.
Okay, so the policy
which is, by the way I think we all should.
Okay, so the policy is he's making cash payments to Black Americans. Are you going to support that?
Once again, you're asking me to support a concept. A concept is not a policy.
Okay.
There's bill language.
For the sake of argument, because this is not what I'm advocating, but for the sake of argument, he's going to do exactly what they did for the Japanese Americans, which is only $20,000, right? But $20,000, every person, every Black American, according to the standards set out by the task force in California of who should get cash payments. Would you support it?
Once again, the
okay.
devil.
Got it. You're dodging.
All right. The devil's in the details. See, that's the problem. Is you want someone to support a blanket, just general?
No, I want you to say
without actually looking at what's in it.
But you say you support reparations, but everything that you've stated that you support is not even close to reparations. It's not even in the reparations conversation. Let's go to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C. Go ahead, Fahima.
Oh, my. Habaragani and K-Pasta, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed.
I called basically to, and I have a question afterwards, just very briefly. I would encourage Craig to, after he finishes reading the California Reparations Report, to take a look at Ta-Nehisi Coates' case for reparations, which came out in the Atlantic a few years ago, was the basis of his testimony at the H.R. 40 hearing. Because in it, he looks at the areas, the domains, convict leasing, mass incarceration, sterilization, all of the things, the harms and denied opportunities for education, etc. So you'll have an understanding. Because first off, when one owes a debt, as Dominique and Molly Bell has said, your situation and is not even. If a debt is owed, a debt is owed. And the last thing, I have a question for you, sir. You said that you're going to support Donald Trump even though this man tried to overthrow the government, even though he has been dishonest and is facing nearly 100 indictments in New York, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta. Historically, he and his father discriminated against black and brown people and were held accountable by the Justice Department. And we also have the situation with the Central Park Five. And you still support this man?
So when Hillary Clinton said that the election was stolen, she tried to overturn the government. Or when ran for governor in Georgia, when she said it. Or when John Lewis said
we're talking about Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. Simply questioning an election is not an attempt to overthrow the government.
But Stacey Abrams did not actually incite people to march on Congress, erect a noose for the vice president, take over the Capitol and threaten the lives of lawmakers, did not do an extended campaign of a big lie saying that the election was illegitimate, even though 60 judges disagree, including many of the judges. No, she did not. You're delusional. That did not happen. Hillary Clinton did. You're saying Hillary Clinton stormed the Capitol?
In Philadelphia, in Oakland,
Hillary
in Portland,
Clinton. No.
In Washington, D.C.
What are you talking about?
You're saying those riots didn't happen.
What riots are you talking about?
There were not riots. You're saying that there were.
What are you talking about? What riots are you talking about?
Following the election of Donald Trump, you're saying that there were not riots in Washington, D.C. There were not riots in Philadelphia.
Following the election of Washington, D.C., MAGA, America First supporters stormed the Capitol. If that's what you want to call a riot, I call it an attempted coup. I call it an attempted coup.
Okay.
Nobody.
Attempted coups.
Nobody did that on behalf of Hillary Clinton. No, it did not happen.
Attacked the Capitol. How many armed citizens attacked the Capitol?
I don't have a count, but it was quite a few, yeah.
No, there were no armed citizens who attacked the Capitol. In fact, the only individual who died on that day as a result of that was a Trump supporter who was shot by a Capitol police officer.
As she tried to breach the Capitol, as she was... Can I just, and you, I don't know, maybe you don't have to admit this, but had those been black people marching, there would have been mass fatalities, and I think everyone that is not in denial knows that. The point is, you're saying those police officers beat themselves up with flagpoles and bear spray, that those police officers... No, but there was no breaching of the Capitol. There was no breaching of the Capitol. That is not the same thing. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're not going to...
Just federal buildings and city council buildings and police stations and police cars.
There was no attempted coup of the U.S. government. And most of those were your MAGA infiltrators anyway. And we proved that in Los Angeles because we found out who was breaking windows. You can laugh if you want to. Anyone that has Google fingers can figure that out.
Soros-funded agitators.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what you think. So clearly you're drinking the MAGA Kool-Aid. Fahima, were you done?
I'll just say this. Project 21 was recruiting on our campus at Howard University when I was a student. And obviously took place in the sunken place, and they were giving out lobotomies. And I'll land there.
Well, I don't know. You probably don't want to respond to that, but you certainly could if you wanted to. Craig Deluz?
I will simply say this. I am a free-thinking black man who looks at facts, not feelings. And
you have a lot of feelings. You're over here yelling at me. What are you talking about? You're saying you're a cyborg?
Every time I start speaking, you talk over me.
Well, and when I speak, you talk over me. So, but okay, I'm also fact-based, but I do have feelings. Go ahead.
The point that I'm making is that is for any of us to think that there should only be one perspective, that we should all look at the world the same exact way simply because of the color of our skin. To me, that's a racist concept.
Who said that?
Well, put it to you this way: because I don't think the way, for example, your caller said.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I must have been subjected to a lobotomy.
Okay, I see what you're saying. All right. Well, I also believe in diversity of opinion and thought, but wrong is wrong. I don't see Sean Hannity inviting me or any other people who consider themselves progressives on their show, and I open the space for everybody. So clearly, diversity of thought is okay, but if I don't agree with it, I'm going to argue with it. That's talk radio. I do understand your pushback on being, called names. I do my best not to do name calling, except when it comes to the 45th president. 800-920-1580. Actually, even then. I'll continue our conversation with Greg Deluz when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and Clear Skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweat, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Even though LAUSD projects they will grow their reserves to $6.27 billion by July, they continue to shrink the budgets at our schools. Many critical programs and key positions for student support are at risk. This May 7th at 4:30 p.m., join education workers, students, and parents outside LAUSD headquarters at Beaudry Avenue and West 3rd Street to demand LAUSD stop shortchanging our schools. For more information, visit UTLA.net.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had leaf filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, I'm talking with Craig Deluz. It's a Freedman Friday where we speak on reparations, and he is spokesman for the California Republican Assembly and has a lot of other hats that he wears. Craig Deluz, we have a wealth gap in this country. Dr. William Darity talks about a 200-year wealth gap. Other economists and scholars have said the same between Black Americans and others, clearly attributable to enslavement and Jim Crow in this country. How do we close that wealth gap? If closing that wealth gap is one of the goals of reparations, what would you consider an acceptable way of doing it, if not cash payments, if not tax holidays, if not that kind of thing that you've stated you don't think is realistic?
So I think part of what we need to look at is what is the greatest generator of wealth, and for many that is that's real estate. The ability to own a home is probably the greatest way in which most people gain wealth and pass wealth on to a future generation. So programs that work to both, number one, increase home ownership in Black communities, I think, is vitally important.
40 acres and a mule?
Well, I don't know that I would call it 40 acres and a mule, but the idea of, because one of the other things that does is once you own a home, once you're in a home, you now have a static house payment that now, so when rents go up, like we're seeing here in California, we're seeing a proliferation of rents going up very, very high. Well, if you own a home, your payment is whatever your house payment is. So number one, it helps prevent or reduce gentrification. But then number two, it also then creates an opportunity or builds wealth going into the future. I'll also say this, and I know this is something that your listeners are probably not going to like, but the idea of creating a lockbox system or a partial privatization of Social Security. Right now, Social Security in particular for blacks and black males in particular, has a negative rate of return. So in other words, we're putting more money into Social Security than we will ever get out. And that partially has to do with the jobs that we have. That partially has to do with life
racism,
expectancy.
white supremacy, weathering.
Right. But if we do this, if we have a lockbox where that right now what happens is, if you work and you pay into Social Security all of your life and you die before you collect a penny, that money will then go to, or a payment, what is called a survivor's benefit. Your spouse, if you're married, will get to choose between the survivor benefit or their benefit, but they can't get both.
Right. Okay, I mean we're getting
married and you don't have children, then it goes away.
We're getting close to the end of the show, so I don't want to go too deep into the details of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do understand the concept. The privatization of Social Security, it will end up defunding Social Security, even though you're right that weathering and the gap in our life expectancy creates a problem and an unfairness for black men in particular and black women. All we have to do is make the eligibility date earlier based on the unfair weathering of black people in this country, or some formula along those lines. But your point is taken. That's what you would like to see. Cash reparations would help a lot of people get homes, wouldn't it?
One, depending on the amount. Number two, when you do that, all you're doing is put more money into the economy. You're putting more money out there, which basically will push the prices of homes up. Which means that it may help some, but it will not help all. It may not even help. It will not help most be able to get into a home. It'll drive up the cost of things.
So it could also be. So are you arguing that it's not an economic stimulus?
No, it's not. Government money going out into the economy, what it does is it does create a stimulus, but what it then causes is inflation.
I mean, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, but apparently tax cuts for the rich don't do that, because when we give money to the rich, they just hoard it, and so it's fine.
Allowing people to keep their own
so-called
money,
job creation.
Number one. Number two, every single time the federal government has reduced taxes reduced taxes across the board, we've actually seen more money come in, whether it was when Kennedy did it, whether it was when Reagan did it.
That's an untrue talking point, but got it.
Okay,
can we do a speed round?
Not an untrue talking point. Those are just the facts. Look it up.
I have, Craig Deluz. I have, Craig Deluz. Can we do a speed round here? Just a couple things I can ask you about California specifically. Do you support Senator Steve Bradford's bill to set aside 6% of incoming rainy day funds in a reparations pot to fund those programs?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you support Steve Bradford's bill to create a Freedman's Bureau in the state of California that could administer any reparations program, whether it be cash or otherwise, and be a hub for reparations in the state of California?
No, I do not.
Do you support, I can't remember whose bill because I'm going off the top of head right now. It may, well, I'm not going to guess. The bill that would create an apology, an official apology by the state of California for enslavement and Jim Crow against black people in this country, in this state?
If the language is agreeable, that is supportable.
And what would you find not supportable? I mean, what are you thinking of when you say that? Because saying we apologize for your enslavement seems pretty straight ahead to me.
Yeah, I honestly wish it were that straight ahead, but the Democrats in the California State Legislature rarely do things that straightforward. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
Do you support, I think this is also a Bradford bill, and there may be someone else on it as well, the legislation that would make it easier for people to reclaim their land, i.e. Bruce's Beach, if it was taken due to racially motivated eminent domain?
If I were in the legislature, I would co-sponsor that bill.
Really? So we found a point. So you are good. You think Bruce's Beach is a good model, even though it's really restitution more than reparations. So it sounds like you're drawing the line at restitution more than what we would call reparations.
I think that's fair.
Do you think that the Republican Party in general is moving more in that direction? Because I really haven't talked to a lot of GOP, officials like yourself who do even go that far.
One of the two main arguments that I get from Republicans in regard to is, number one, the affordability. Can the state actually afford
it? Right, we can't afford to pay the debt we owe.
Right. That's one. But then the other is specifically identifying a specific wrong and making a specific right. And I think that is something that is an example of something that is clearly identifiable. That we can
the only reason I'm laughing is because the California Task Force has a 1,200-page report that does exactly that. So, and one other talking point I'll have you. Well, you know what? We don't have time. Sorry, Craig Deluz. I'm going to give you this last minute. You want to tell us how to reach you or what you want to leave us with?
I encourage folks to visit project21.org if you're looking for an alternative perspective. And I encourage folks, look, you don't have to agree with me, but it's important to know and understand what people who think differently think. So I encourage you to go to project21.org. You can find me on Twitter at Craig Deluz. And I really appreciate the opportunity to conversate with you today.
All right, Craig Deluz. I appreciate it as well. Certainly, as you've pointed out, whether we agree or disagree, it's important to use our gray matter. And when we are thinking about why we believe as we do, I think it makes us smarter, it makes us stronger, it makes us better. So I appreciate your willingness to engage. We've got Freedman Friday open phone lines next. So if you heard something that got you thinking, got you mad, got you happy, call me now, 800-920-1580 KBLA. Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. More testimony regarding Trump lawyer Michael Cohen will be heard today at the ex-president's criminal hush money trial. In Georgia, a charitable foundation is highlighting Atlanta's racial disparities. A new report from the Annie E. Casey Foundation shows